Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. This is the Baltimore Ravens preview and prediction show. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Have three people who know the organization inside and out and love it as much as me. So I'm going to go around real quick and have them introduce themselves. To my left, actually that way, on the left, in the top right square, we have Jordan Coe. Jordan, how you doing, man?
Good, Jason. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And where can they find your work? You should throw that in there, too.
Yeah, at filmstudybaltimore.com, you can find our podcast. Me and my co-host, Gabe Ferguson, he's at Gabe Fergie. We've got a podcast there called The Situation Room where we're covering the game at the end of on Sunday, right after the game. We try and get some film up there and get some commentary over important plays and situational stuff that happened.
And then bottom right, you probably know her, some Ravens royalty. Sarah, did you happen to bring the Super Bowl ring by any chance?
It was requested, so yeah, there we go.
There it is.
Right next to the wedding ring, which does not make it look too awesome, but there we go. There we go. Wow. And my favorite is this side. It's got my last name engraved. Ooh. So
okay.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice.
So Joe Flacco has one, and Sarah Ellison as well has one. And Sarah,
me and Joe Flacco, it was equally. We put in equal work, so then we both get the rings. I know that people appreciate all I did to help us get this ring. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see him doing much typing in the 2012 season. So, I mean, you got him in that category. Yeah. And of course, people probably know where to find Sarah, but go ahead and give it to us, Sarah.
So I'm mostly on Twitter at SG Ellison. We're just trying to finish up plans with Kadri Ishmael. We're going to go ahead and do our post-game show again, just kind of figure out the details, but we'll get it out on Twitter for sure. So that'll be coming when the season starts, the regular season.
Kids love Kadri, by the way. He went to visit them at their school. So that's one Raven from the past that they know. So that's pretty neat.
Nice.
Yeah, old Q. And then bottom left, new podcast doing really, really well. Jameel Patterson, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. I cannot complain at all, man. Blessed.
That's great. Tell people about your pod real quick.
Yeah, man. So, me and my brother, Daryl Knox, if you guys are familiar with him, we have a podcast, Ravens Elite Podcast. You can find us on Spotify and Anchor. And you can find me, I'm on Twitter, mostly on Twitter, at Jamil7_. I'm very engaging with everybody. Any questions, anything, you want to ask me, I always respond. I try to as much as possible.
Yeah, and you guys probably already know people we have on tonight, but I'll have all their links down below so you can go ahead and find and follow them. So let's get it started, guys. Let's do this. Hey, every football team, most important position in sports, always starts with the quarterback. And for the longest time in Baltimore, it was a struggle to find one. And we were fortunate enough to have Joe Flacco, and then fast forward to 2019, the unanimous MVP of the NFL, and a traditionally defensive-rich organization is the quarterback of this team, and that's Lamar Jackson. I looked up his numbers for the last 2 years, so I wanted to have a baseline of what to expect from him this year. So we'll start with Jordan on this one. Jordan, can you just talk about Lamar? Give me your predictions for his passing yards, his rushing yards, and his total touchdown somewhere in there too for me.
Yeah, for sure. I was scrolling through Twitter earlier today and I saw this video from the NFL top 100 players, and they had the 3 number 1 players from the last 3 years. And obviously Aaron Donald, and this year is Patrick Mahomes, but last year was Lamar Jackson. And a lot of people forget, you mentioned the unanimous MVP, but people seem to, I don't get what it is, but people seem to not think that Lamar is the kind of intergenerational talent that he is, or over the last 12 months have kind of got it in their heads that he's just a runner. He's not enough to be really great. And so I'm here to dispel that myth tonight. I am firmly drinking the purple Kool-Aid on Lamar this year. I think we're going to see a year very similar to what we saw in 2019. I think it's going to be a struggle, especially with the speed that this team has put together for teams to keep up. And, obviously the whole team plays a part in how Lamar's performance is going to go. But I think that the veteran names that they brought in on the offensive line and cleaning that piece up, I think that as long as they stay healthy there, they're just going to play more as a unit because they've got guys that have that veteran experience. And so, I think we're going to see 3,500 passing yards from Lamar, especially, unfortunate news for J.K. Dobbins. Wish him the best in terms of his recovery, but I think that that's going to lead to a little bit more passing. I think we're going to see 1,100 yards from Lamar in terms of running the ball, and I think we're going to see probably 45 total touchdowns. I think, his usage is going to go way up, and the Ravens weren't shy about using him last year when teams are really keying in on him, and I think they're not going to be shy about using him again this year. And I think he's ready to prove everybody wrong. He's heard all this stuff too, and he's ready to put it out there on the field and get it going.
My numbers are not far off. I'm a little bit lower in terms of passing yards. I really liked the Ravens quarterback coach. I don't know if you guys listened to him, but the media had asked him about, are you going to open up things more? Are you going to pass things? And then he used an analogy to Michael Jordan, and he said, Michael Jordan, when he first came into the NBA, he could drive, right? He could drive, dunk on you, layups, this and that. And then as he progressed, he got better. They taught him how to add the jumper. And then so he could hit that consistently. And he said, but that doesn't mean that he stopped driving. It just meant that when he took the jumper, he could do it more consistently. I thought that was a really good analogy because I think that Lamar is still going to run a decent amount. So I have him at 1,075 yards. I think that he'll still run about 10 to 11 games, not all designed, maybe 4 designed a game, 4 or 5, and then another 4 or 5, 6 scrambles, and then it'll kind of go up and down. But I think average about 10 times a game. So I think that's why, 17 games, I still got him above 1,000 yards, 1,075. I have him just under you. I have him at 3,250 yards. I think he's going to still throw it I have about 25, 26 times, and I'm just under you again at 44 touchdowns. So that'll be a career high for him in yards, but you also have that 17th game. So I don't have him quite as good as that MVP year, but again, a step up from the 2020 year. So that's where I got him.
Yeah, that's good. So from what I've seen just in the preseason game for the abruptness of that he played, he didn't really play that long. It was like one series, but you seen him take a snap from under the center. I think they went out 4 wide and it was like second down, and he hit Mark Andrews for a corner route. It was nice. The pocket was nice. He stepped up in there, delivered a strike in the corner to Mark Andrews. So that was just a sign of what is to come for the passing game. I think as far as the development goes, for me, stats-wise, it's unfortunate what happened to JK. So I think I had Lamar a little lower this year prior to JK's injury. But as far as rushing yards, since the unfortunate injury, I have Lamar a little bit on the 1,000-yard side, probably around that 1,080, a little close to 1,100 rushing yards, maybe somewhere around that number. Definitely lower than his 2019 season, MVP season. I do have him 40 plus. I don't want to put exact number on there, but I would say 40 plus total touchdowns. And I do have him throwing for at least somewhere between 34 to 3,500 passing yards.
There you go. I think we're all pretty close. I think my main difference is I'm going to be the only one that has him under 1,000 yards. I'll put him at 950, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was at 900. And I just think that that's part of the evolution. I love the way the ball is coming out of Lamar's hands right now. I played close attention at the Carolina practices. It was just flying out of his hands. When I see clips from practice, it really looks like he's behind the ball, on top of the ball. I just love it. And I think that with the Ravens' weapons, they're really going to go more towards the passing game. And then, of course, JK's injury kind of tilted me further to where I put him under that 1,000-yard mark. Overall, I'm with Jordan. I have him at 3,400 yards, between 34 and 35. And I actually think he'll be above 40 touchdowns and approach that where he was at 36 touchdown passes and 6 rushing. So I'm going to put him at 42 total touchdowns. But I expect a lot from Lamar. I think he expects a lot for himself. But this offense clearly runs through him, and he's getting better and better. You have to remember he's only 24 years old, entering his 4th season. I mean, time flies by. It just, you can imagine it was it's his 4th season with the Ravens. but big expectations not only for Lamar, but I think he has more help around him, and that's going to allow him to do different things. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if he did go over 1,000 rushing yards, because I think that I had him for 50 scrambles last year. I think that number could go up with the more passing attempts and us stretching the field vertically. I see a lot of room for Lamar to run if and when he chooses to. So, big season for Lamar, definitely. Hey, we're gonna switch to our next segment. It's called Pick a Player. We're gonna go around. We're each gonna pick a player. I'm gonna throw out a stat category prediction, and we're gonna start with the running backs because really that's what's changed the most dramatically since Saturday's game. I have a feeling we're all gonna have similar answers on this, but I'm gonna start with Sarah. Sarah, who's gonna lead the team in rushing yards? Who's gonna lead the team in rushing touchdowns? And how many do you have?
So I'm still giving the rushing yards to Lamar. As I said, I'm predicting 1,075. Even though Dobbins is gone, I think that Harbs reiterated today, their offense calls for 3 active backs every game day. That doesn't mean that they'll split the carries evenly, and Gus kind of moves into that J.K. Dobbins role. For right now, it's Tyson Williams. If they sign somebody else, and then maybe they do. But I think that's going to be the 1-2 punch. And then Justice Hill comes in as that change of pace back and still the special teamer. So at 1,075, I still have Lamar leading it. I think that Gus's carries will go up, but I have him at about 950, not quite breaking the 1,000-yard mark. But I do have Gus as the touchdown leader, the rushing touchdown leader. I think he'll hit, with 17 games, double digits. I think he could hit 10.
Nice. So for me personally, I do have Gus Edwards. If he can, so if we go back to 2019, Mark Ingram, I believe he had 202 carries.
Yep.
I think it was somewhere around that number. Okay, so I would almost want to bet that if Gus Edwards can get at least 200 carries, because he had 700 yards with 144 carries. So if he gets 200 carries, I can only imagine what his stats would be. And I'm going to go as far as saying I have him leading the team in rushing yards. I'll say around 1,200. I'll say 1,235 because 35 is his jersey number. So I'll go with 1,235. I'll go with 1,235. And as far as touchdowns, I'll probably have him modest. I'll go with like eight rushing touchdowns and 1,235 yards.
Okay, so I'm gonna go kind of with Jamil on this one, and I'll predict his. I tell you what, Jamil, I'm gonna give in to you here. I'm gonna give him 11, but it's gonna be 1,135 yards. Okay, so I keep the 35, but 1,135 yards. I think it's important to note that I don't particularly think that Gus is going to get all the carries. I don't think he's going to get 250 to 300 yards. Like Sarah said, they rotate the backs in there. And, I mean, they want fresh legs. And I believe that there are certain plays that are designed specifically for Gus. There are certain plays where they'd rather have J.K. in, certain plays where they'd rather have Gus in. I think Gus expands a lot, but I think a lot of J.K.'s work will go to Tyson Williams and whoever else they have in the rotation by the time the season starts. So with Gus, I will have him leading the team, 1,135 yards, and I'll give him 11 touchdowns. I think he hits the double digits this year.
Oh, man.
What do you think, Jordan?
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm with Sarah on this one. I think it's Lamar that leads this team in rushing. The way that I think about it is that in the prior 2 years, Lamar has not had to play the full slate of games. Obviously, last year he missed the game because of COVID. The prior year he just didn't play in week 16, and he took, I want to say, 4 or 5 fourth quarters off during that year as well. In the process of that, stacked up 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns, essentially on what is the equivalent of closer to 14 games. So if you think, like I do, that he's going to return to something that's more in line with those levels, I actually think it's going to be Lamar that leads this team both in rushing yards and in touchdowns. Gus Edwards is great in the red zone, but I think Tyson Williams is going to, I really like Tyson Williams, and I think he's going to end up, by the time this year rolls around, to end up taking some of those red zone touches away. He's going to be more balanced, 50 or closer to what you saw between JK and Gus towards the end of this year, I think, when we get there, because he was really impressive. And frankly, I thought Nate McQuarrie looked really explosive and quick. Like, I know the Ravens probably are interested in adding a back that's a pass catcher and kind of going to be able to do something a little different. And I think that he could be that guy too. And if they find a way to, they need to be worked in or whatever that ends up looking like, or even Justice Hill, if he finally takes that next step to the next level, it's going to be spread around in everybody else's hands except for Lamar. Lamar is going to have the ball in his hand in the red zone a lot this year. And he's going to have the choice to be able to throw it or run it in or give it to somebody else to run it in. And I think he's going to have 10 touchdowns this year.
All right.
If Tyson breaks 4 tackles every time he's in that red zone and gets in the end zone, I like giving him the rock there. Sorry, Jason.
Sarah, what school is Tyson from?
Oh, I couldn't remember. Oh, BYU. That's my guy. My guy. Yeah, he's gonna have a breakout year for sure.
I like Tyson. Hey, let's go around real quick. I'll say 600 yards for Tyson if they don't sign another back. What's the number 2? Just give me the one number, Jordan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think 600.
Sarah?
500, 600 sounds good.
That round.
Yeah, same for me. In that same realm, I'll say 600.
Okay.
At the most. He's explosive.
He is. And he's physical. Impressive guy.
I didn't know he was 220 pounds. Sorry, I just had to throw it in there.
Yeah.
220.
Go ahead, man. We're free flowing. We're free flowing. I love it. And by the way, I think it's a good time to tell people I would love to get some comments on this. Are you with Jordan and Sarah on this one? You with me and Jameel? How much do you think Lamar's going to run? Who's going to lead this team in rushing yards and touchdowns? And it should be fun to see. So, Jameel, your turn to kick it off with the receivers. Yep. Same question. Yep. Receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. Give it to me straight.
Okay, so I am going to go with that man, primetime Jets. I have Hollywood Brown leading the Ravens in receiving yards. Just simply with the big plays, big playability. I think the Ravens are going to hit a lot more down the field on the deep ball. So I can see a lot of Hollywood touchdowns along with yards. I'm not going to say receptions, of course, because I think a lot of his catches would be, I think he's going to be around the 5 to 6 catches type of game. But, he's going to be probably somewhere around 17 yards per catch type of year. I expect a year like that from Hollywood. And I'll say for yards, I'll give Hollywood 1150. I'll go 1150 for Hollywood receiving. And then I also I feel like this is going to be my first person getting the double digits love. So he'll be getting double digit receiving touchdowns for the first time in his career this year. And I'm going to go with his old jersey number, but I'm going to take a number down. I'm going to go with 14.
I love it.
Woo.
Jameel spicing up his
Jameel
answers.
is in it. He's here for Hollywood.
Hey, man.
Yes.
I'm here for Hollywood, too. I really do. I think that everything we've done this offseason just adds to Hollywood's game. It's not going to take away from it. And I mentioned how I expect Lamar to run fewer times this year. So I'm on the Hollywood bandwagon, too. I have him leading the team in receiving yards. He had 769 last year. So I'm going to give him a bump up to 1,069 will be my official prediction. But I think there's another player in this offense who the additions is going to help open things up for, and that's going to be Mark Andrews. I'm picking Mark as my touchdown leader. I think he hits double digits for the first time in his season. Big red zone target. I see him seeing a lot of the field this year. Josh Oliver takes some of the burden off of Mark, but that's going to make Mark even stronger when it comes time, touchdown time, and first down time. So give me Mark Andrews. I'm going to give him an even 10 touchdowns. Hollywood's my receiving leader. Mark Andrews, my touchdown leader.
Yeah, I'm taking the AFC North's wide receiver leader in touchdowns over the last 2 years, which is what most people wouldn't expect, which is Hollywood Brown. Over the last 2 seasons combined, he's led the AFC North in touchdown receptions. And so a lot of people don't think that the Ravens had this really weird stretch in the middle of the year last year. That's the other reason why I'm super high on this offense, obviously already. Everybody else is. I thought I was going to be kind of really far ahead with some of these numbers. That hasn't been the case. I think that's a great sign that everybody that is watching this team thinks that it's all headed in the right direction. But Hollywood is, minus that 4-game stretch where he just couldn't catch the ball. There was almost like 8 straight plays where he just had the ball right in his mitts and he just dropped it. If you kind of take that segment of games away. He was on 1,000-yard pace for the year. We're adding another game to the year. We're adding more passing to this dimension. Hopefully, the more spread out this team can get, the better Hollywood can be. He runs all the routes. He's not just a deep receiver. He runs all the routes, does it exceptionally well. Except for that one stretch, hasn't had good hands. I like him to have 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns, and I expect both of those to lead the team. I think Andrews could be, Andrews is a real dark horse to lead this team in touchdowns, but I think he's going to get so much attention when they get down there in the red zone. They run those multiple packages with Ricard and Boyle and Andrews all together, and you don't know kind of who the ball's going to once Lamar gets out there and scrambling. And so I think that just takes away a little bit of that design. But I think, I want to see them run that same play they ran in Miami right out of the gate, week 1 against Las Vegas. Throw that deep post. Yes. Throw that deep post to him. Let them run and let him put up those numbers in week 1. I'm here for it.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm with you guys on Hollywood. We're definitely on the same page. I think we're all on Hollywood is going to lead the team in receiving yards. I mean, who else is going to beat him? I mean, I just don't know that Sammy and Rashad's not going to be healthy long enough. I mean, at best, he'll be back at week 4, maybe later. Sammy, I mean, if he ends up playing all 17 games, I mean, we will have a blessed season, but we'll see. So I think Hollywood's going to, between Sammy and Bateman, if they can be in there, enough next to Hollywood, that'll open him up more, and it'll open Mark Andrews up more. So I do have Hollywood. I'm just not going as far as you guys. I have him at 900 yards. Okay. And then with I have Mark Andrews being the receiving touchdown leader. He led it in 2019, then it was Hollywood last year. It really could be either one. But again, I know that there's going to be a lot of attention to Mark Andrews. I'm banking on these new pieces opening things up for him a little bit. So I got him at 11 touchdowns.
Ooh,
all right.
I like that.
Love it, love it, love it. So the next question, there's more mystery in this one. And we didn't compare notes before the show because want it to be nice and surprising and organic. So this one is I'm really curious to get your answers. I'm kicking off this one. It's who's going to lead the Ravens in sacks this year. And when I look around, Matt Judon had 6 last year. That was the team leader. So it's really wide open with Judon being gone and Yannick being not being re-signed. And I have a surprise, I think. Well, maybe it's a surprise. We'll see what you guys have. But I think a big man is going to lead this crew. A very big man, number 93, I believe, and that's Calais Campbell. And the reason is I see him on the inside, on these obvious rushing downs, pass rush downs, third down, creating havoc. And I really haven't seen him, a guard that can handle him on a snap-to-snap basis. If you looked at what happened with him before he was injured last year and then had COVID, he was dominant. He racked up 3 sacks in the Philly game, but he was disruptive throughout. So you guys may know, Calais is 8 sacks away from 100. And, hey, I'm feeling generous. I'm going to give him them 8 sacks, and I'll make him the leader. But I can't really make out what's going to happen with these outside linebackers. So I wanted to go with Calais.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pick. I think he's in for a big year. The thing is, the Ravens are so multiple in terms of this front. They've got 6 outside linebackers now that are all viable to be able to take meaningful pass rush snaps. So I'll throw who I think is going to be a little surprise out there. I think it's going to be Tyus Bowser. I think he's going to finally get an opportunity to get after the passer. It's not been a situation that he's been put in regularly. He's going to be on potentially the opposite side of Justin Houston in some of those big moments, and I think we're going to see a big year from him that people weren't expecting all around. I think he's a guy that I think could be the huge surprise of the year for the Ravens defense.
How many are you giving him?
I'm going to give him, I have him, you know what? I didn't say a number. I'm going to put him at 7 because, and that was the preface to that is I think Campbell, I think Houston, I think Bowser are all going to be at least 6 sacks, and it's going to be kind of a fight to see where that mix comes out. I think McPhee could be that guy. I think Patrick Queen is going to rack up some sacks this year. He's phenomenal rushing the passer. So Wake's going to bring it from all over. I mean, it could be Deshaun Elliott when it's all said and done. Wake doesn't want to let us know.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. There's definitely a handful of guys that I think are going to be contributing 3, 4, 5 sacks, kind of here or there. I have thought about Calais. I don't think that's a bad pick. I think that I would have picked him second. I just felt like there's just been too big of a dip, and maybe there's reasonable reasons for that. I went with a guy who I'm like, look, how can I go against the last 4 seasons with 2 different teams? Justin Houston is averaging 9.5 sacks. Do I think he's going to totally fall off? I don't think so. I think the Ravens are going to keep him fresh. Think they have enough people. I think they're going to put him in the right situation. So my pick is Justin Houston with, why would I go away from his average from the last 4 years? 9 sacks.
Love it.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Are you guys ready for this?
Ready.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. Okay. All right. So I was contemplating. I was thinking of the same thing, Jason. I wanted to give it to a big guy, and I was thinking like Calais, his chance to get 100 sacks. He's 8 sacks away, and I was thinking of Justin Houston, and I also agree with Sarah. I think those guys are going to have like a collective thing where you see 6 and 7, like it's going to be like a tie. But I think the one guy who's going to separate himself from the pack is Justin Madubuike. Justin Madubuike from the interior will lead the team in sacks this year, and I have Justin Madubuike at 9.5 sacks. Breakout season,
man,
from the interior.
I like it,
dude. If that happens,
hey, this is the first one where we're all different. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, what happens to that defense if Madubuike steps up like that with that many sacks?
If Madubuike has 9, you said 9 sacks.
9.5. Yeah,
9.5. 9.5. Madubuike has 9.5 sacks. Something's going right everywhere across the line. And that's a dominant line. I mean, I already feel like the Ravens defense, you're in the top 5. He's getting that many numbers. I'm like, you're in the top 2, top 1. I mean, that's and then you've got that Pro Bowl that All-Pro secondary behind that. Like, who would score if Madubuike had 9.5 sacks? Yeah, no, that'd be pretty nice.
And
just to throw this in here really quick. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it could be indicative of the offense, just also steamrolling some of these teams, because then you get a lot of passing situations. You get Madubuike probably on the field more than kind of the Monstars because they want to keep them rested and healthy. So that could be a direct correlation to the offense.
Jamil, go ahead.
So second, I do want to say I think Patrick Queen is going to be second on the team. His pass rushing skills is insane. Like hit the way he gets to the quarterback so fast. It's insane. He reminds me of Devin White. And from the Buccaneers, Devin White had, I think, 9 sacks last year. I don't think he's going to have 9, but I do think he'll be at least second. Like I think he's going to be one of the guys that have like 7 sacks.
Yeah,
I see a big year for Patrick.
I tell you, I want to point out 2 things. One, there's some luck to this because, like you saw in the one of the preseason games, I'm not going to quote myself wrong, but Oweh had this monster pressure. Quarterback steps up. I think Chris Smith and Brandon Stevens split the sack. So, there's a luck factor in that. And then, man, Patrick Queen, I just can't go without saying, for all the film study work I did on him last year, watching him like a hawk, I had my issues with him in coverage, and sometimes I didn't think his eyes were very good in the run game. He was in the wrong gap. But he is an elite blitzer from the very moment he stepped on the field. The way he's able to stop and change directions when a quarterback steps up and just pounces on him almost reminds you of like a lion or something. Just being able to change directions and pounce. I love the Patrick Queen pick. So, hey, on to our third segment, my personal favorite segment, because I came up with the name. It's called Too High, Too Low, or Right On, Bro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to state my predictions, what I think is going to happen, and then I'm going to go around, and the panel is going to tell me whether my number is too high, whether my panel is too low, and I'm going to see if I can get some right on bros. That's my goal for this segment.
So,
not to butter y'all up, but if you're close, give me the right on bro, all right? If I can get a right on bro, maybe like a right on bro, if you can do an accent, hey, the more the merrier. But we're going to start off with Gus Edwards. We had him down for this show anyway, but it becomes even more fascinating with JK being out. So we touched on him a lot already, but I'm going to try to get you guys to nail it down. I think Gus is going to have between 200 and 210 carries. So a real specific number there. And I think we're back to Jordan this time. So Jordan, Gus Edwards will have between 200 and 210 carries.
Yeah, I think that's a little high. I think it's a little high. I think that they're going to end up throwing the ball more. I think that they're not going to get away from some of these designed runs. I think that Tyson Williams has shown me enough that they're going to give him some of these carries. I mean, I think, and like Harbaugh said today, and Sarah mentioned, whoever that third back is going to get some of those touches. They want to keep them rotated and keep them fresh. And I think the Ravens are going to look back to what happened in 2019. Mark Ingram was running out of steam by the time they got to the playoffs. He wasn't the same guy by the time that year ended as he was especially in the beginning of the year. That Miami game, he was just on fire. And I think the wear and tear from the season, they don't want to see that happen. So that's why I'm going to say it's a little high. I think it's going to be somewhere more like between 185 and 195.
Yup. Jordan just said everything I was going to say. I'm going to add bro to all these. Too high, bro. Too high, bro. I got him at.
Thank you.
I got him at 190. And it's not that and I don't want anybody listening think it's because we don't think Gus could do it. If this was, throwback football and it was like take one running back and just run him into the ground, Gus could do that. We call him the bus for a reason. But no, I think the Ravens have a system that it's rotate the backs, keep them fresh. This is a playoff-bound team. You don't want to run anybody too much. Bring me Gus the Bus at his best in the playoffs. Keep him a little bit lower. I'm at 190.
190. Oh, man. Y'all want to know something? I'm going to tell you right now, the difference between Mark Ingram, he was 30. Gus Edwards is what? How old? 25, 26? He's a lot younger. So I'm going to say right on, bro. I got Gus Edwards at 200 exact. 200 carries. So that's not that far from 195. Just give him 5 extra carries. So I got him right at 200 carries for the season.
Thank you, Jamil. We've been through a lot together, but that might have been the highlight of our friendship. At least to me, that was right there. Hey, we got to take it to another man of mystery, Sammy Watkins. He's played 86 games in 7 years. For you math majors out there, that's a little bit above 12 games per season. So you talk about an unpredictable a question here because it could go one way or the other, but we're starting with Sarah. Sammy Watkins will play 12 games, Sarah.
Yeah, right on, bro. I like it. Yeah, I would be happy with this. I would be very happy with this. In an ideal world, because we think Bateman's going to be out early, if Sammy could carry us for, 6, 7, 8 games. And then if he has some maintenance to do, after Bateman's come in and he's, warming up and doing things. And then Sammy comes back ready for the postseason. That would, because we all know, what do they call him in KC? The playoff Sammy. That's all I need. That's all I need. Open things up for Hollywood, open things up for Andrews, kind of trade off with Bateman. 12 games would be perfectly fine with me. And I think he can do it. I think he's determined. I think the Ravens are determined, unless he has some freak accident like we saw with JK. I don't even like putting that energy in the air. I think they're going to take care of him with this soft tissue stuff.
Yep, definitely. Oh man. So it's a fun fact for people with Sammy Watkins. So out of his 8 seasons, he's only played under 10 games twice. Sammy has played a few seasons where he's played more than 10 games. He doesn't get a lot of credit for it because there are 16 games in the season. So he plays under that 16 games a lot often than you would like. So for me, he does show up big in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with right on, bro. 12 games. Give me the 12. Is that the Seahawks Stadium? 12? Or is this Ravens Rock? Okay. Give me Sammy with 12, man. Sammy with 12. I'm going to go with 12 for Sammy, man. 12.
Like it.
How can I go against this esteemed panel like that, Jason? I got to agree. You're right on, bro. I mean, I think if you're going to put a number on it, this is the right number. I think that maybe it could be a little bit under that towards the end of the year if, guys are developing and they need to rotate some of these guys through. I talked about this on a podcast with Film Study. The Ravens are going to have an opportunity to rotate outside linebackers, to rotate wide receivers. There's going to be a chance to take healthy guys and make them inactive just to keep them fresh this year at both positions if they get to that point later in the year. There's a different guy could be inactive from the outside linebacker group every week. Same thing from the wide receivers. We saw Duvernay and Prochet play exceptionally well when the Ravens finally decided they were actually going to play football in the preseason. And it was last week 3 on offense. We actually saw them open it up, and we saw both of those guys really start to shine. We saw those route combinations work. We saw a little bit of design there on the cutback from Duvernay on a throw underneath with getting him in motion. I think that all of those wrinkles getting added in are going to keep the health of all of these guys just a little bit more tuned up, and it's going to allow them to do that. I just think that the lurking danger is that I think there's going to be a week where Watkins might not play because they don't think they need him, and they want to keep him fresh, and he's just a little banged up, but normally would play.
Awesome. I love it.
Nice. Nice.
It would be really nice if we could rest banged up players who would normally play, because they're all banged up all the time, and we never hear about it. You never want to tip your hand, but I mean, look at Marcus Peters last year as the guy that jumps out to me. He gets his ankle rolled up on like every few weeks. He played through it. Like, it would be really nice to have the depth to rest some guys like Jordan said. So I got a round of right on bros. So guess what? I'm gonna switch it up and get real specific with this one, so I don't get any right on bros. This has to do with the number of points the Ravens will score. So 2019 banner season 531. Last year, 468. So if you meet that number in the middle, it's 500 points. Now, we do have an extra game, so that'll factor in. But I'll leave it at 500 points. Is that the Ravens will score 500 points, and I think I'm kicking it to Jameel. Too high, too low? Or are they going to score exactly 500?
Where's the energy? Where's the energy? That's too low. Low, man.
Okay.
Come on. We just literally just said all of these players that are going to score all of these touchdowns, along with Lamar Jackson, these receivers that's going to score all these touchdowns. Our defense score a lot of points too. And look, man, that's too low. If we don't do 531 again, it may be a little bit more than that, man. So I'll go with 530. Anywhere between 530 and 540 points, man. That's too low, man. For this team, they score a lot of points on both sides of the ball.
All right.
So, yeah, I'll go with 530, 540.
I'm going to jump in right now, and I feel like I'm going to take an absolute butt whooping on this category. So go ahead, Jordan. Take it away. Add to them.
I mean, I'm right there too. I think it's too low. And I think part of that one is that I think that this offense is going to return to what it looked like in 2019. You're adding another game, and I mentioned this earlier. That season also included a game where the starting offense didn't play. So not enough credit is given to that Ravens team and the prolific nature of what that offense did on that year. They really put those points up in essentially 14 games. I talked about it earlier when Lamar didn't play in the fourth quarter of those games. So you extrapolate that out, and they easily, adding another game to the schedule, should be able to do that. I think the other reason that'll happen is that the schedule, so the Ravens don't have an easy schedule this year, but the way it broke out in terms of who they're playing at home and who they're playing on the road worked out really well. I think the games that they might have been in a little danger of not scoring as much because they were playing better teams when they were on the road for those end up being home games. So like Kansas City, Green Bay,
the Rams,
Kansas City, the Rams, the Colts, and the Chargers. They get all of them at home, and then the alternate road games are like Denver, Detroit, Miami. So when you kind of mix in that imbalance, I think that's also going to tilt in the offense's kind of overall production favor. And we're talking about the difference between 10 or 15 points. I think that makes a big difference in that what that final number comes out to be.
Jason, I got you, bro. You're right on.
Okay.
I think you're right on.
Thank you.
And I don't even think that's a slight against the Ravens, because you put the last two seasons together, 531 and 468. That's the number one scoring offense over those 2 years. That 531 was so high that it kind of carried up that 468 a little bit. And so I get that there's that extra game, but I don't think there's any shame in 500 points in a season, even in a 17-game season. I think that would still put them somewhere in the top three. So I don't think there's any shame in it. So to me, 500 points, I think that's right on.
All right. Well, I'm gonna up the ante on this one, because I have a feeling this is now I'm switching this up on my guys here, and lady and gentlemen. But I want to make this statement. I originally had the Ravens at 11 wins. I figured maybe somebody would go a little low, a little high, but I'm gonna kick it to Jordan first. Jordan, the Ravens will finish the season with 12 wins.
Yeah, that's too low. I think they're going to win 13 games. I think they're going to win 13 games. I think I mean, look, we're talking about. Think about what we've talked about in this podcast, right, or in this YouTube video, right? We've talked about Lamar putting up historic numbers, right, getting back to the numbers that we saw from him in 2019. We're talking about increases across the board at the receiver positions. We're talking about a defense that if Justin Madubuike has 9 sacks, that Sarah said they're the best defense in the NFL, right? So then people then are going to say all those things, and they're turning around, they're going to be like, they're going to win 11 games. Those things can't go together, right? You can't say that we're going to have Lamar go back to MVP level status, that we're going to have a defense that really stacks it up. So if you want to hedge off and say, oh, injuries, stuff happens, things happen, so they're like, I'm not going to say they're going to get to their maximum potential, fine. But I think that this team is a team that, if they, for the most part, stay healthy and keep it together, is going to win at least 13 games.
So just to be clear, you've changed your original number, yes, Jason?
Twice.
You had an 11
Twice now. Twice. It's,
did.
yeah, I'm calling.
You did it twice, okay.
Yeah.
Because originally I was saying too low. 12, I'm right on. So I hear what Jordan's saying, but my predictions were slightly under the rest of you guys, especially in the passing game. And that's mostly, and maybe that's just because, to me, with the passing game, what the Ravens' goal is to make defenses play when they sell out against the run. This is still a run-first offense. You know what we're going to do. We're going to kick you in the face anyway, knock the snot out of you, and we're just going to go and run this down your throat. And then you're going to have to commit all your resources on that, and now we're going to finally make you pay. And we're going to make you respect our passing game. So I haven't predicted like the 1,100 yards for Hollywood. I haven't predicted – I predicted more passing yards for Lamar, but that was because of the 17th game. So to me, I think the passing game is going to have more harmony, but I think it's going to take a little while because the offense has not practiced together, the starting offense, between the offensive line, the wide receivers, Nick Boyle. I mean, who knows what Josh Oliver's going to be yet? So to me, the defense is going to carry the team for the first quarter of the season. And then hopefully the offense starts to rev up. So to me, I don't see this huge takeoff with the passing game. I think it's going to be a passing game that will finally be respectable and make defenses pay if they don't, give more attention to it. So, and then you add in the games that you're supposed to win, and then it was a bad week, and you just went downhill, and it just, for whatever reason, it got away from you. So, I think they split a couple. In the AFC North, there's some tough ones. There's KC, there's Packers, all these guys. They're bound to drop a couple. So I have them at 12. I think you're right on, bro.
Thank you.
Okay. So, what made the Ravens so great in 2019? They have 14 wins. 14. And if we're so high on them and they're going to return, everybody's going to return to these forms that they were back in 2019. But we're expecting a better version of every player, even our quarterback. We're expecting a better Lamar as far as passing, right? So your first number was 11. That was too low. Your second number was 12. That's too low.
All right.
Low. All right. I'm gonna say this, man. I'm not going to go too crazy with this one because I don't want nobody coming down on me. All right. But I'm going to give the Ravens 14 wins this year, again, like 2019. So I have them losing. I'll just say who I have them losing to. I'm sorry for any Ravens flock that get mad at me about this, but this
You're
is just how I
predicting
feel.
14 wins. I think they're going to be cool with this.
Yeah, so 14 wins. I have us losing to the Chiefs because I haven't seen us beat them yet. So that's just the safest one to pick. So I got the Chiefs week 2. I have us losing to the Browns once. And I have us possibly losing to the LA Rams. If not the Rams, we're probably going to lose to the Chargers.
Love
That's
it.
it.
Okay.
Love
it. That was a lot of fun, man. That was that's definitely my favorite segment. But we're going to try to top it now with the segment that we call Generally Speaking. So this will open it up so we can take different perspectives. And the first question is, who will be the Ravens' most improved player this year? I'm going first on this one. The most improved player, I believe, will be Deshaun Elliott. And the reason I say that is because I think he played really well this year. When you look back, he had 0 picks, 2.5 sacks. I see each of those numbers going up by 2 or 3. I see him being able to take a little bit better angles, adjusting to the speed of the game after having a full season under his belt. I just think he's going to get better and better. So my most improved player, I think it'll show in the stats, is going to be Deshaun. I mean, I could take Gus because his stats are going to go up, but I'm going to take it just from a football perspective. I expect Deshaun Elliott to be a better player, most improved player on the team this year.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm going to take a little different angle there because I think there are a lot of young guys. We've already talked about Patrick Queen, Matabike, others that could really take a step in kind of their development. But I'm going to go with Calais Campbell because he's a guy that we did not see a vintage Calais Campbell performance, particularly because of injury. He was great through, I think, the first 4 or 5 weeks before he took that injury. After that, he missed a few weeks, and I felt like he wasn't the same after that. If we can get the Calais Campbell from 2 years ago, taking 60% of the snaps, and I feel like in Jacksonville, he was 85% of the snaps. He was always on the field. So if we can get this guy healthy, we can keep him healthy, the impact that he can have downstream on this defense is going to be significant, and it'll show up in the stat sheet, like you were talking about, Jason, when you picked him to lead the team in sacks. And I think that the trickle down of how that will affect everybody on the line and outside linebackers will be significant.
So this breaks my heart because I would have said J.K. Dobbins. I mean, this would have been his year. I mean, my heart just goes out to him. And I hope he keeps positive. He's a positive guy. I hope he keeps positive and he can come back, and hopefully next year at this time we're talking about, comeback player of the year, J.K. Dobbins. So but with him out, I am going to go with, I think, an obvious choice, which is Patrick Queen. So, and I don't know that it's going to show up that much in the stats because I felt like Patrick Queen actually had very nice stats. He had fumble recoveries. He had return touchdowns, lots of tackles, this and that, where I'm hoping we see him progress, and I saw glimpses of it in the preseason, is in the passing game. Patrick, as we all know, did not have a offseason last year with COVID. He was a one-year starter at LSU, or it wasn't even a full year. And so this guy has all the physical tools. He has the smarts too. He just hasn't had the experience. And so now he's got a whole season under his belt. I can't remember which preseason game it was, but when he diagnosed a screen pass out to running back, and he was like right there. I mean, the ball hit, he's there. And so that made me feel like he was diagnosing things better. What I didn't quite see, but he also didn't play that much, is I want to see, can he do it behind him? If the tight ends are running routes behind him, can he pick that kind of stuff up? So I'm betting that he will. Given his all the study, a year under his belt, I think that we won't see it in the stats, but I would love to see where tight ends are not tearing us up anymore, and Patrick Queen has got to be my guy and come through there.
Sarah, you took my pick. Patrick was my guy. I'm gonna go on the fly here, okay? I'm gonna do this one on the fly. I'm gonna go with Justin Matabike, all right? I'm gonna go with Justin. For the same reason, similar to Patrick Queen. No off season. People don't really understand the emphasis and how important it is to have rookie mini camp, OTAs, all of the camps that they missed out on as rookies. They all didn't get together until training camp late in July. That's not enough time to get acclimated, especially for a rookie. Everything was virtual, so a lot of rookies went through, a huge learning curve, and it was even more difficult with not being able to be hands-on because football is a physical sport as well as mental. So you definitely have to have those mental and physical reps. So Justin Matabike, I feel like will be the most improved Raven. I feel like he'll probably be, most improved for sure. Most improved. I'm gonna save my other cheers, my other, good things about him. I'm gonna save that for another time. But most improved for me, Justin Matabike.
Jason, I can't believe you didn't pick your boy Prochet.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Oh man!
But I'm gonna mention him too because here's the reason I didn't pick him for this, because he wasn't given a chance last year. So he's starting from, in my opinion, zero. Like, he would be if we said breakout player, I would say Prochet. But most improved from what? He wasn't given the opportunity I believe he deserved last year. So I went with somebody that played a lot and somebody that we can measure it very well against. Next question, Jordan, this is yours. Which rookie is going to have the greatest impact for the Ravens?
Yeah, I've got it down as Ben Cleveland. I think that he's going to take over that guard spot, and I think that injuries are going to happen. There's going to be some shuffling. He's going to get his opportunity at some point this year, and I think that he's going to solidify that left guard spot. And then if we can get back to the 4 veterans and Cleveland and them all being healthy together, that's going to propel this offense to places that we only dream of. And so he's my guy, I think, that is going to get a crack and not let it go to get into the starting lineup and really impress.
I also have Ben Cleveland, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to stick with him and just add a very intriguing thing that I think Harbaugh said today. Somebody asked him, does Ben Powers essentially have this, or what's the plan? And he goes, well, we have a plan. And then he didn't want to reveal it, but he accidentally revealed a little something. He goes, we have a plan, but I don't know what the snap count is going to look like, is essentially what he said. And so I'm like, oh, there's probably going to be a little rotation to start out because Ben Cleveland hasn't had the training camp due to the concussion and other issues. And so it's like they've got 2 weeks now before the season. So while the media's not out there, they still got 2 weeks to practice. And so I kind of got the idea that they're probably going to rotate him until they feel like Ben Cleveland can fully take over because he got robbed that time. So I'm also probably I don't know how many games, maybe 12 games he would start. Maybe by week 4 he can start 12-game starter on an offensive line that needs people to protect Lamar and open holes. Yeah, Cleveland will make an impact.
Yeah. All righty. I wanted to pick this guy, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that he's actually even going to make the roster. He's an undrafted free agent. He's not even he wasn't even drafted. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch up, and I'm going to go with Brandon Stevens. I feel like in the secondary, Brandon Stevens will have the biggest impact out of all the rookies. And I say that because he's very versatile. And for him to be a rookie defensive back, his confidence and the way he dissect plays and he gets after it. Like when he doesn't second guess. If they say, Brandon Stevens, this is your assignment, he doesn't second guess. When it's time for him to blitz, he's in there. He's covering slot. He's able to cover slot receivers. So, yeah, I see in like we all know, Wink loves his guys to be versatile, and he is fast. Brandon Stevens is 4.4 speed. He was a running back converted over to, defensive back. So I have him as the, having the greatest impact of all the rookies. And then, he's in the secondary. He's going to eat. He's going to eat in that secondary for sure.
Yeah, great picks. I'm going to go with Cleveland. I'm going to build off of Sarah's point on this one. And Harbaugh's press conference was very interesting. It seemed like he said it's Ben Powers' job for now, is basically how it came across to me. Sarah phrased it very well, but it's kind of like we'll see how the snap counts goes. Like Ben ain't gotten the snaps in there yet. He was, reportedly just battling that concussion, trying to manage it. But when I look at the phrasing of their greatest impact, I'm taking this from a playoff perspective. Like Jameel said, I expect Brandon Stevens going to make plenty of plays all season. But what I'm looking for in the playoffs, for us to get over the hump, I say we, us, because I am part of the Ravens, not employed by them like certain somebody used to be. But yeah, Ben Cleveland, when it comes time to playoffs, I guess what I'm getting at is that our biggest problem has been the offensive line in the playoffs. Lamar not having room to step up and really get into an accurate throw. That's where Ben Cleveland steps in. He needs to improve his footwork, in my opinion. But one thing he doesn't need to improve is stonewalling blitzers and being strong in the pocket. When he anchors, you're not going to go around for him. And I think that's going to make a huge difference this year. So this is kind of along the same lines, but it can be any player, rookie or otherwise. Who's going to have to play well? Who's the most important player to the team's success? And obviously we could take Lamar out of this because quarterback play is the most. But other than Lamar, which player is most important to this team's success? And I believe, is this Jordan? I believe it's Jordan.
I think it's Sarah.
Sarah? Okay, thank you. Sarah.
Ronnie Stanley. So I'm sure we're all going to say this. I mean, you can maybe pick Humphrey. I don't know. But, honest to goodness, everywhere else you feel like somebody else could step up and weather the storm. Ronnie, there's nobody. You bring Villanueva back over to the left. I don't have confidence yet. Maybe he'll still be there. And Tyree Phillips, that's who it looks like they're grooming to be the the swing left tackle. Maybe if it happens after week 8, by then Juwan James could be back. So maybe there's something there. But I mean, if Ronnie's not there, the offensive line falls apart, in my view. And if the offensive line falls apart, what happens to Lamar? What we saw in Buffalo, where he's concussed and can't even come back to try to win the game. Do not want to see that happen again. Ronnie has got to stay healthy with Lamar.
Ronnie, I'm going to go with Ronnie. Thanks,
Go for
Sarah.
it.
We appreciate
Sorry.
it. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to go with Ronnie, too, and for the exact same reasons. There's not really much to, add to that, just because Ronnie is, he's our best offensive lineman. I'm just going to leave it at that. That simple.
It is. And, I was going to pick Ronnie, but I expect Ronnie to be there for us. Last year's injury was a freak occurrence. It happens every once in a while. So I'm expecting the same 15, 16 game season from Ronnie. Maybe he misses a couple, but I expect Ronnie to be there for us this year and, knock on wood, just have the same great year. So I'm going to go with a rookie on this one, and that's Odafe Oweh. I'm thinking that if Odafe Oweh can step up, I believe he's going to contribute just with his hustle and physical tools right away. He's a student of the game. You can tell that the game doesn't move too fast for him. But that first step in the pass rush has got me concerned, alarmed. It's the same thing we saw at Penn State with the 0 sacks. He's just almost consistently, the last person off the ball. So Odafe Oweh, I know you tune into every single show that I do. So get off the snap. We're going to need you. Imagine Odafe Oweh with like an 8-sack season. It would just be absolutely huge. Now imagine
That'd be incredible.
Now imagine the opposite. Wink can't trust him to drop into coverage. He's not providing a pass rush. We're old there. We're going to have to play him regardless whether we want to or not. So most important player, he could have a big impact whether it goes one way or the other for Odafe. And of course, man, rooting for you. Seems like a great guy.
I'm going to take Kevin Zeitler. Same idea on the offensive line, but the right guard position was awful for the Ravens last year. It was really ugly, and so they need that to be settled down. I agree with Sarah that definitely tackle depth is worse than the guard depth, but I think the guard depth is not all that great either. Ben Powers I don't think he's a starting caliber NFL offensive lineman just quite yet. I think maybe he can get there, so there's a little more insurance there. But there were too many games where the play from the right guard position led to blown up plays that ruined too many things last year, including the Buffalo game, specifically the Buffalo game. The play right before Lamar throws the red zone interception, there's a miscommunication on the line. Someone cuts right through that hole. I'd like to think that Zeitler's going to get communication wheeled around, be able to kind of stabilize all that, be a veteran presence on that offensive line and keep everybody kind of together and calm and collective. And I think that'll go a long way.
Okay, great answers all the way around. I mean, you can make a case for all of them. Last question, guys. This has been a lot of fun. So I guess this starts off with Jamil. Generally speaking, Jamil, what will have to happen for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl? Go ahead and take a little bit more time if you need to, because I know it's a complicated answer.
Okay, it's for me. It's just I'm gonna be straightforward. You cannot be predictable. When you get to the playoffs, we all know every team knows that we love to run the ball, right? Everybody knows that. But what they don't know now is, can the Ravens be a balanced offense? When we're loading the box, can they pass the ball efficiently down the field? Can they dice up, great passing concepts? Can they, get a defense to the point where they don't know what to do? They don't know, are they going to run? We can't load the box because they're killing us in the passing game. They have to be unpredictable. If they're unpredictable in the good way, they're definitely going to win the Super Bowl. It's no questions about it. Because that's literally the only thing holding them back is the fact that, their defense, they have a championship defense, that caliber, the way that they play. It's just the offense. They play championship football up until when it gets to the playoffs, and it gets kind of like, a little, tricky because of the passing game. But I think all of us expect that to improve this year. So I think them being unpredictable in a good way, of course. will help them.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit, be less predictable. I love it, Jamil. Hey, I'm breaking mine down into three things. Number one is health and luck. Health and luck. It's every team. It's every year. It can make the difference between 1 or 2 games, or 3 games or more. It can cost you that number 1 seed and a bye and get somebody else healthy. The bounce of the ball, the officials' calls at the wrong time. Health and luck, number 1. Number 2, I'm going to get real specific for this, and that's figure out the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I'm say figure out because to me it goes deeper than the players. I think it's the coaching. It's no knock on our coaches. We're very fortunate to have John Harbaugh and Wink Martindale. Hey, throw Roman in there too with some of the amazing things he's done. But I'm not even looking at Roman for this one. I'm looking at Harbaugh and Wink. Specifically Wink. Andy Reid is a tough matchup for any coach. He's got to play in there for any situation. He's got the quarterback who can do it. So the Ravens have to find a way to mix up their defenses, give their offense a chance. Yeah, the offense has to do their part this time. It's been a two-way street in these Kansas City losses. We need both units to step up. Sooner or later, we're going to have to go through Kansas City. I would love to happen for it to happen week 2, just from a psychological perspective. And then the third thing, which is more like a micro thing, is I'm looking at our second-year players taking a big step up with COVID last year and them not having a true offseason. So you look at the growth from Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison, Matabike, Duvernay, Phillips even, Prochet, and Broderick Washington. Think about how involved they've been this preseason. Think about the reports that are coming out. If that group, I'd love that draft. If that group, even if 75% or 5 of those guys take a step up, it's going to make a big talent difference for this team this year. And, of course, Jordan Menton Zeitler and the other additions we made. But I'm looking at these in-house second-year guys. They step up. This team can be borderline unstoppable if it gets hot.
Yeah, I'm going to follow a little more like Jamil's direction here. I think that there are 2 areas where the Ravens can make a big difference. We saw one of them a little bit in the Washington preseason game, which was spreading out and still running the ball. The Ravens, if they can change the concepts of how they line up, but do the same things that they've been executing all along, they're going to be impossible to stop. Gus Edwards had like a 20-yard run, basically because they were 4 wide and everybody was spread out. The lanes were huge. And you've got good guys. You've got a guy like Bozeman that can get out and run in front of that. Zeitler, Villanueva are athletic. Those kind of things will make all the difference. I think Jamil also mentioned the other thing, which is putting Lamar under center on short down and distance, 2nd and 3rd downs, run some actual play action, stop running the ball every time you only have to get 2 yards because you can get it on 3rd down. You can get it on 4th down. Take some shots, pick up some big chunk yards in those plays. The Ravens just tweak a little bit of some of that stuff under the hood where they're doing the exact same things. They're just doing them in a couple different ways. I think the sky's the limit.
Yep.
Yeah. So 4-step plan. I won't go deep because number 1, I agreed with Jason. It's health. Number 2, defense. Just be you, but be you against Kansas City too. As to Jason's point, like be you, be the top defense that you are. But go and do it against Patrick Mahomes. Quit putting everything on Lamar in the offense. We don't want to get into a shootout. Make some stops. Make Mahomes uncomfortable. So be you against them also. Don't melt down against them and be nervous about who you're playing. Not that they're nervous, but step up and stop them. Stop them. Yeah. Number 3, I've alluded to this before. Make teams to pay for selling out to stop the run. That's everybody's defensive plan right now. Until you prove to me that you can pass, I'm going to sell it against the run. Make them pay. And it goes to Jamil's point. If it needs more creativity, if it needs people making plays, if it needs these new pieces, whatever it is, you have to make them pay because no team can be truly one-dimensional and win. Not even everybody says it's a passing league. And outside of Tom Brady, everybody's needed another attack. And so you can't be one-dimensional. Make them pay. And number 4, the last 2 times the Ravens got ousted in the playoffs, in my view, was in large part because of the offensive line. It's got to step up. The offensive line, especially in 2019, was great all season, then got whooped in the offseason. They got whooped against the Bills. same thing I'd say to the offensive line that I'm saying to the defense. Be you, play your best football in the biggest moments, and the Ravens can win the Super Bowl. If they play their best football in the biggest moments, they can win the Super Bowl. Just be you, get it done. If it needs a little creativity, all those other things. But they can do it if they just bring in their best game during the biggest moments.
What a fun time to be a Ravens fan. I mean, we've seen other teams. It's just a great time. You have an exciting team and a good team, not one or the other. It's just a lot of fun. Stable head coach, great GM, top to bottom. It made this show a lot more fun. Imagine if we were another unknown team that I'm not going to upset right now, but I could pick a handful of them. Not as fun of a show. I mean, this is some real stuff. We have some real options here, and I really hope that the audience, I know people are going to watch. Please, I want to hear your comments. There's a lot to grab onto. Let's go back and forth. Hopefully it starts a nice conversation. But I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. I had so much fun. It took a lot of preparation and work from these guys to put this on. It's hard to get people together nowadays. You know how times are. To get everybody to come together for this. I respect the hell out of all of you guys and all your work. Got Sarah to break out the ring. I mean, what a night. It was a pretty good night. So on that, I just wanted to close and say I'm really, really, really proud to have you guys as part of my football family. And I'm really, really proud. I just went over 1,000 subscribers. So I want to thank people out there.
Congratulations, man.
Congrats, man. Congrats.
I want to thank the people out there because I said it earlier, the number really never meant anything to me personally. Like I was in it to give myself something to do and to give back. But then when I hit that 1,000 number and I had people congratulate me, it just struck me as to like how good things can be and really appreciative and really humbling. So thank you to my football family out there. I mentioned Otavio earlier, one of my first subscribers from Brazil. Got to hear his story about how he became he's trying to become a doctor, but it was Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, and he's watching from Brazil, and the Ravens became his favorite team, and many other stories like that. So, when you branch out and really get to appreciate, I really appreciate what I'm doing now. It's changed my life for the better. So thank you three for being a big part of that.
Thanks for having us on, brother.
No Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
I love you guys. Why don't you say goodbye to the people? Go ahead and jam up the vocal lines. See you guys.
See you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.